know. Oh well. Okay. So, hey everybody, we're joined today with Sian and Dan, who are going to be just sharing a little bit of info from their perspective, their experience, and what they've been up to in their property business. And we're just going to have a little catch up and a chat, which I'm very excited about. So, Sian, Dan, do you want to just introduce yourselves first? Like, who are you? What do you do? Tell us about you.
Go on.
Hi, I was in a retail job for 28 years. I got made redundant last year. We'd been thinking about property and how we could drive forward from starting. We had a buy-to-let, and we kind of stumbled into property and got a portfolio started, and needed some accountability and some direction to help start to scale that up this year, because not having being made redundant, not having a full-time job, and the whole pandemic thing, meaning there weren't that many opportunities, and there's even less about now, meant we had to find a different way of doing it and create our own economy to steal that from somebody else that we have been doing some stuff with. So that's what we've done, and you guys are helping us with that journey, which is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
go on, Sian.
I was going to say, I was in retail as well as a retail manager, and we both very much loved our jobs. So it's not something that we didn't go into property thinking, I want to leave my job. So we actually did it as a kind of bit of financial security for the future, but then realised that we can actually do property as a thing. We didn't know that at the start.
Okay.
And I guess the reason we wanted to then go for it is because we realised that a lot of our time was working for somebody else, and we just wanted our time back, didn't we? That's the kind of the key reason why we decided we wanted to get into property, and so far so good. So it's kind of proving that it's working.
It was really nice. I had Christmas off last Christmas just gone, and I was really looking forward to having my first Easter off since 1991 and my first Maybank holidays off since 1991. And actually, I just sat on the bench outside my window and had a cup of tea because couldn't go anywhere.
And anyway, so
how annoying.
But that's okay. So I've now got that to look forward to next year.
Indeed. So amazing. Thank you so much for that little intro. So how long have you actually been like working in properties, in like months, years? When did you actually start?
Well, you were an accidental landlord, weren't you?
Yeah, so I moved with work and just kept my first property and did it as I thought was just the way of doing it. I found a letting agent and handed it over and see in a few years type thing. And that didn't turn out to be a very good experience towards the end, and I wasn't doing it very well, and I just had it on a standard mortgage that had a consent to let, and then found a better way of doing it. So we got our first proper buy-to-let in 2017. And now are starting to scale that up. So we've kind of added a buy-to-let each year, and we've got a HMO, and we've got a couple of other bits that we're working on at the minute. So
what's going on?
It's picking up quite nicely. But what we have found is that the network, you start to build relationships, and that's really important. And that has allowed us to get to the position where actually we've got more opportunities than we can actually do ourselves or even finance ourselves. So that's where getting into sourcing and helping other people go on the journey that we're on and sort themselves out for the future is something we're quite passionate about, giving back and helping other people maybe not have to worry about working every Christmas since 1991.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, 1991, how old was I then? 8, I think.
Well, you've just shown your age.
That's all right. I was 16. That's fine.
Yeah, I think, and you know, I remember being, whilst I worked in recruitment when I was like in my corporate world, which wasn't really weekends, I was in like retail before that. So like as a teenager growing up, I was working in retail, and I remember missing, like, we always had to be at work on Boxing Day, and we always had to be like, you could never have Boxing Day off because it was like the busiest day. And you know, I remember that. But even as a kid, for me, like, I remember it being a pain. And as an adult now, I can't imagine always missing like your weekends and, your like the special occasion days that you tend to spend with family. So that's amazing. So that's been quite a big change, I guess, for you in terms of your lifestyle. Property's kind of started to show you that there is a different way, right?
Yeah, it enables us to be available to go and see people and be a part of things that we'd had to say no to before. So it's definitely given us that flexibility. It's given us control of what we want to do, where we want to go, and when. That's the key thing, I think, for us, wasn't it? Is giving us our time back as well.
Amazing.
I did find it quite hard at the start, stepping out of having had that kind of routine and working every other weekend and late nights and early mornings and weird shifts, and I found that really, really difficult to get my head around to start with, and it probably took me a few months to get into a better headspace for that. So yeah, but it's it feels much better now. Yeah.
But then you're like flying at the minute because you've got all sorts going on. I know, obviously, I mean, I know you've got different deals because I'm working with you, obviously, and helping you to do this. But you've got packaging deals going on. You've got your own like pipeline for buy-to-lets going on. There's all sorts of really fun things. And I guess those things are what's going to contribute to you staying out of having to go back to work at any point. Like, you're going to be able to get to a point where actually that just becomes what you do, and it will stay that way for the foreseeable, I guess. So, okay. So how long have we been working together? About 5 months, something like that?
Yeah, I think we kind of came on board with your 5-day challenge.
5-day challenge, wasn't it?
It was the beginning of April, I think, was it?
It was, yeah, it was actually the end of April I did the 5-day challenge.
There we go.
So May, June, July. So for 3 and a bit months then. Yeah. So what made you join the 5-day challenge?
So I'd seen you around on social media and seen some webinars and bits and pieces. So that kind of know, like, and trust piece, I think, had built up.
Okay.
So we knew a bit about what you were about and where your successes had been previously. So that kind of gave us the confidence to do that. But the previous training we'd had, there was a gap in that training. So the knowledge was absolutely amazing and has set us up to understand the processes and different strategies and things, which was great. But for me, I think it's the same for Sian. It's the accountability piece and the support ongoing and regularly, and just touching in and being able to have a Q&A session regularly, which the program has done. I think has been the reason we really jumped on board and has helped us accelerate quite quickly in the last 2 months.
Well, the one thing that made us sign up was the investor leads, because we'd gotten to a point in our property business where if we want to move ourselves forward, now we are working with private investors, which we've built up over the last couple of years, but that's the bit that we actually find very challenging, which I think a lot of people do as well.
Yeah.
So as soon as I kind of read a little bit into the 5-day challenge and it was based around investor leads, that's what intrigued me. And I thought, how can we do this online? We're in lockdown. That was the first thing. We're in lockdown. We're not doing any networking. We're not going to meet anybody new. So I was intrigued as to how you were saying to us, I can get you leads online. And I thought, I need to know how to do that. And it worked. And we were at that point in our business that we thought, what are we doing next? What are we going to do next? And lockdown was such a curveball for everybody.
Yeah, it was. We
went through that stage of, obviously, the worry stage of, oh God, what's actually going to happen going forward? And we just felt like we needed something to, I don't know, pull everything together and go, so what is it that we're doing next then? Which is what it's helped us with massively.
It was really important to get through that bit of the change curve of the worry, the anxiety, the whatever, and get active and get doing something about it.
Yeah.
So the 5-day challenge landed at just the right time to help us do that.
Good. So of the 5-day challenge, so just let's talk about the 5-day challenge first, and we'll talk about the bit after that in a second. What were your results just from the 5-day investor challenge?
So I got back into using Facebook more regularly, which is something that I was active on, but it kind of dropped off a little bit because I felt like I didn't have anything to talk about at the time.
Okay.
And that brought in a lot of new conversations, a lot of new contacts. I think you did really well with it as well, didn't you? On bringing in new people. Yeah,
one of the things I needed to do was something with my LinkedIn profile, and Previously, it was all about retail and
what have you done?
Working in shops for 28 years and that kind of stuff. So one of the things that you talked about is building relationships and contacts up and having a target each day. And at work, I was used to having targets every day and every week and every month and every year and all that kind of stuff, which you're quite focused and driven on. And we hadn't really defined those. So the 5-day challenge just helped us put some of the great stuff and knowledge and experiences we had from our retail backgrounds into our own business we were trying to grow. Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of set a challenge of growing that. So I've got a challenge of 10 new connections kind of daily that I follow up. And didn't quite get there last month, but 173 new connections over 2 platforms. So far this month, I'm ahead of target. So got that emphasis, which is great. So that for me was probably the biggest one that just helped.
That's amazing. I think for me, the 5-day challenge was really, really exciting because I mean, there was a lot of people that came through it and finished it, which in a challenge, a lot of people don't even get past like day 2, day 3. And the people that did come through it, I think of all the people that came through and actually finished and implemented it properly, everybody had at least 1 lead. And that is like, that was my promise, was to get, if you implement and you do the work, you will get investor leads. And like, it's interesting what you say, Sian, is that it came at just the right time and it plugged that gap, because not really anybody teaches you how to do that bit. A lot of the industry talks about getting houses and getting like leads for vendors and agents and that sort of thing, but they don't really talk about how you sell the deal or how you raise the money for the deal once you've got it. And actually that, I think, was it was really fun for me to see people. There was one guy that raised £200,000 on that challenge, like in 5 days. Mental, absolutely amazing. So okay, cool. So from the 5-day challenge, you guys joined the Cogito Wealth Strategy Hub, which is our ongoing like accountability side of things. What would you say is your experience of the Strategy Hub?
Oh, amazing. Like, I think your engagement, for one thing, is just brilliant, because we've not had that previously. You know, we've been through a series of courses and we got a lot from it, but we then didn't have that person there who's experienced it and done everything that we want to be doing, help us day by day. And I know you can't be available 24/7, but we've now built a lovely group of people who have lots of different experiences and skills as well. So we're finding that other people are helping each other out, and that the people and the support side for me is probably the number one thing that I've taken from it.
Yeah, and I have to say the people, the community aspect of the Strategy Hub is something I hadn't really accounted for when I set it up. Like, I knew that I was going to be in there daily and I was going to be talking to you I'm in there every single day answering questions and commenting and things like that, because that's my role, is to be there to bring my knowledge to the table. But I actually hadn't really factored in the fact that you guys would create a community of your own, and I'm there to kind of lead it, but you all help each other. And for me, it's a really cool place to be hanging out, actually, because you're all helping each other, you're all happy for each other's success. And I think when you're in an environment like that, everybody grows together. And that's like, I mean, that I hadn't really realized that was going to happen. So it makes me quite proud that we've created that. So that's quite cool. So what would you say is your biggest breakthrough that you guys have had, either personally or in the business, since you started working with me?
For me, there's a bit about just how to set up and automate bits and pieces. I'm not a techie kind of person, so just how to link different bits together has really kind of helped me, and the kind of the flow and the process of how you've been successful and how we can replicate and adapt some of those things. So whether that's a deal pack, an investor pack, a client pack, or just the way to talk to people, way to engage with potential clients, I think was really helpful for me, because I've not had that kind of guidance in property.
I mean, we sat down yesterday night before and did our review of June, which is something that you prompted us to do, and it's not something that we normally would do, month end. And we actually realised how much we'd done in the month of June. And one of the main thing that we had done is we've set up our sourcing business. It's done. Yeah. And it's something that we've talked about in the past, And we keep doing that, oh yeah, we'll do that. Yes, we need to do that. Yes, we need to do that. But having the challenge there has actually made us do it and given us that accountability and that drive and the speed as well of it. I'm just really impressed at as to where it's gotten us in week 9, 10.
Yeah, I think week 10.
Yeah. So
my cat's come to visit.
Think well.
Oh,
Have a little cameo. So yeah, I think we're in week 10 now.
Yeah.
12 months ultimately.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what Sian says is absolutely right. That's really helped us get some stuff done at pace. Which, to become a fully compliant sourcer is not an easy task.
No.
There's a lot of layers and structures and putting policies and procedures together and all that kind of stuff. So we've now got that in place, and now we've just got to push forward and get some deals over the line and start invoicing people.
I think a lot of people get put off by the processes because they're not easy. Like Dan just said, it's hard. It is hard. And you get a bit overwhelmed by it and think, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And some people then just drop off and give up on it. Yeah. But what we found is we now have a platform we can go to it and ask the questions and get the answers to help us get over that hurdle. So I think that's what's fast-tracked us. It's been great for us.
Yeah, we're used to working with policies and procedures, but how many people have actually ever had to write or adapt a policy and procedure?
For themselves.
You know what I mean?
That's a corporate thing, right? It sits over there. Someone else's job.
Yeah. And when you've worked for a corporate, you know, depending on what level you're at, you'll have sat and read and digested and understood the policy and the procedure and helped other people implement it. But you don't ever sit and write that kind of stuff and start with it from scratch. So the support to get that done was really great.
Amazing stuff. So, what would you say is the biggest difference between, I know obviously you've done previous training, definitely no names, by the way, because I don't want this to be a thing about other training companies, but what do you think is the biggest difference in the way that I deliver and the way that you experience the training between what I do and what Cogito does and what other experiences you've had do?
I think, and this is only going from our experience of what we've done in the past, we did courses that were weekend courses.
Yeah.
Where they'd give you the information, you digest it all, you take it away, and you're done. It's now up to you to put that into action. I think so. The biggest difference for me has been that you've been there. It's a step-by-step process, which I think is step-by-step learning, which I think works better for me, and I guess for Dan, because it's working for both of us. So it's having that, do this week, do this the next week, do this the next week, I think is better in property, because it forces you to start doing viewings, making phone calls, blah, blah, blah. Whereas on a weekend, you go home, on the Monday, you go back to normality and maybe then don't pick anything up. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, the like hand-holding and the fact that it's bite-sized, manageable chunks delivered out in bits that you can implement a bit and then learn the next bit, then implement a bit and learn the next bit, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the fact that you're in the strategy hub and you can pick the units up at your own pace, and they're there to revisit, and then you've got the live bits all recorded that you can rewatch at your own pace. And we've gone back to a couple of videos and just rewatched bits and made some more notes, or rewatched it to understand what we'd written in the notes at the time. And when you're on a weekend,
you can't do when you go to an event, can you? You literally
the whole point.
You take your notes, and I don't know if you're anything like me, but I scribble my notes down in all the wrong order, and then I'm like, what did I mean by that? I don't know what that even means.
Yep, exactly. And that's been really, really helpful, is to have that resource that you can just go back and rewatch the bits you've done. So for me, that's been really, really helpful.
Amazing stuff. Okay, cool. So I've kept you for long enough. I'm going to ask you one last question. If you could end the sentence, because of Cogito, I, or we, because there's two of you, how would you end? What would you say?
Because of Cogito, we have succeeded in putting something in place that we never thought we would have in such a short space of time. And we are already seeing such good results from it.
Amazing. That's amazing feedback.
You probably you might edit it out, but because of Cogito, I've got my arse in gear, which I wasn't doing.
I won't edit that out.
I was made redundant, so obviously there's a redundancy payment and it's a bit comfortable, and then it starts to run out, and then you think, I've got to do something now. But actually, you've kicked my ass, and I've actually done what I should have got sorted last year.
So I'm pleased about that. Ultimately.
Emotion.
Oh, it's cool. And I'm super proud of you guys. Like, you definitely the epitome of just embracing what you're told to do ultimately. Like, this is what we think you should do, and this is why I think you should do it. Go and do it, test it, and see what happens. And a lot of people kind of fight against that because it's scary, or they're afraid of putting the offer in case they get a yes, or they're afraid of picking up the phone and they don't feel confident. I think I think what I wanted to do with everything we do in Cogito is not just give you the instructions, but give you the confidence and the hand holding so that you don't feel like you're on your own. And from the feedback you've given me today, it seems that we've nailed that. And so I'm really grateful that you've told me that, because it makes me happy that we're getting it right, and we're getting it right for you guys, but we're getting it right for what I had as a vision of the business as well. So that makes me great.
You won't know this bit, but obviously when you're not around, we do kind of use the term, but Sarah told us to do this, but we do say Sarah said this and Sarah said that. Or sometimes I say Poynton said this and Poynton said that.
I like that.
So that helps us come back to, I don't know, just like you just said, you are the guys that have been there, done it.
Tried and tested.
You're telling us what to do. Yeah. We just need to follow the process. We just need to do what you do, and it'll work. And we're proving that it does work. Why go off and try and do something
There's no
different?
Point trying to reinvent the wheel. At some stage, it'll evolve and it'll be what we do. But for the basis to get the growth and get the impetus to get started and get it all going, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been amazing.
My absolute pleasure, and you're a pleasure to work with, which makes my job really easy, so thank you in return. I'm now thinking I should get t-shirts that say what would Poynton do, that you should all have a t-shirt that says
or on the back you just need to have here's the pointer, or here's the points, or something like that. I don't know. Have a list of your 12 steps.
I quite like this idea, Dan. I quite like this idea.
Like a gig t-shirt, but not.
Yeah, like a gig t-shirt. There you go. Like instead of the tour dates on the back, you've got.
I mean, it feels. I think it should be a hoodie if it's going to have like formula on the back. Yeah. I love this. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll let you go and get back to your day. I'm sure you're busy enough. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very
Sarah.
much.
See you later.
Bye.